This project is built within the precincts of the old city wall, so we're actually within the realm of the ancient citadel as well. Jaffa is the repository of history in relation to Tel Aviv. As everyone has passed through it, they've sort of deposited their history. When we found this building in 2006, it was completely overgrown. It was as if the door had been shut on it for 120 years and nature had just taken its course. It's a treasure trove. As we've investigated the site and begun to clean up the building, we found extraordinary artefacts, extraordinary layers of archaeology. We have walls from the 12th century, 16th century, which are all layered on top of each other. And so the challenge for us was to actually not only restore the old structure and give it a new function, but also create new accommodation that would somehow preserve the qualities of the site as we found them, not only in terms of its proportion, but also its materiality. So the ancient city walls are actually circumscribing the whole building. And at this point, the wall has an irregular shape. And our building acknowledges those deformations in the city and bends into this space, which was formerly the garden of the old structure, with its more structured courtyards, with its loggias and its chapel, and the displaced courtyards either side, which also have different intimacies and different feelings in these spaces created between the new building and the old building. So this is actually a study model looking at what happens when you take a monolithic wall made out of aggregated sand, and what happens if you begin to open up those grains of sand and you get to a point where actually you begin to create filters. You're looking at the air between the grains and you get varying opacities. This part of the building is actually still protected by the ancient city wall, so at this level in the building we wanted to create transparencies through the block where you could actually see the existing architecture and the relics, and also experience the old building as well and look through into the gardens and the cloisters. When we're looking at these models, we're not looking at the extraordinary craftsmanship or the ingenuity of our model makers, or even the materiality. We're actually, what these are for are to look at the influence these forms have on the spaces in between. So actually sometimes we're not actually looking at the wall, it's the atmosphere that's captured within it. So actually it's the space that's the important thing. Sometimes for us, models can have a slightly melancholic quality, also particularly because sometimes projects stop and this becomes the only representation of the real. But for us, they're a sort of mediation with the real. We're always trying to converge and get as close to the real thing as possible. So they're kind of our inadequate vehicles for doing the real thing. It's very dangerous to look at these models, particularly as they're sort of dignified in these surroundings as well. That for us, they're not precious artifacts that are actually on plinths. For us, they're actually the relics of our process. So these are the shells we're sort of casting off as we move towards architecture. I mean, the main thing for us is architecture. So actually these are a means to an end for us. They're the vessels for our hope.